Good morning, this is Dan Bergner, and I'm going to walk through how we can use Youreka on the Salesforce platform in order to conduct self-assessments related to COVID-19 for clinicians, the symptomatic or asymptomatic. And what this is going to do is walk them through a risk profile in terms of their environment, the things they've been exposed to, and also a symptom check. And as a result of that information, it's going to recommend guidelines or next steps or protocol that that individual should follow. From there, I'll walk back into how we can see all the information that's collected inside of Salesforce from a browser point of view, how it can trigger workflows, and then summarize all of this information in terms of reports and dashboards. So let's dive in. If we start with this COVID self-assessment, you'll see it looks pretty straightforward out of the gate. We've got a quick risk assessment to understand our environmental impact, or exposure, I should say, and then the symptom assessment that's going to check to see how I'm feeling as an individual. So lots of different paths that we can go here. This is an interpretation of CDC guidelines at the moment. So it can ask, have you traveled to China in the past 14 days? And then it's going to get more specific. If I say, no, I haven't, but I have been exposed to someone who's been diagnosed with COVID-19, it's going to follow up some questions about whether or not I am in fact a healthcare worker. If I say yes, it's going to take us over into a healthcare personnel assessment. Ultimately, lots of different paths here that lead to my risk profile in terms of what I've been exposed to. So this is going to ask around questions around proper use of PPE, and then ultimately result in an exposure category and a recommendation around work restrictions. From there, it's going to move into a symptom assessment to understand whether or not I'm experiencing any of the following symptoms. If I say yes, you'll see that it's going to ask a subsequent question and immediately start to recommend with CDC guidelines the importance of isolation. But if I say I'm presenting some of these emergency warning signs, it's going to shift and say, hey, it's time to call a healthcare provider and figure out next steps. I can confirm that that has happened and then begin to proceed with isolation, staying home except for care, and then using a face mask. So at some point I've gone through, acknowledged all of the things that I need to be doing in terms of my day-to-day protocol and what's my priority at the moment. And when I click submit on this, back office personnel can be notified of information around that someone in the field has just presented symptoms. So that can trigger Salesforce workflows. If I take a look back in the browser here, what we're going to have is our form that was just submitted from folks out in the field. So if I jump into this one here, what we're going to see is all the data that was collected, including some high-level highlights around the fact that we've got a high-risk individual in the field. They're also presenting symptoms, so I can reach out and start to coordinate care or next steps with this individual, and I see all the data that was collected from that individual. This can be summarized across many individuals using standard Salesforce reports and dashboards. This can allow you to slice and dice the information any way you'd like. And CDC guidelines around how we should be triaging these situations are changing on a very rapid basis. So what Youreka is going to enable is the ability for someone to jump in here, use a drag and drop editor, and make quick changes to the protocol and quickly deploy this to the field. So if the first thing that we want to do is check for symptoms, are you presenting with cough or fever? And if we did a simple yes/no question here to keep things easy and intuitive for the end user, the next guidance we might want to provide is stop, contact a healthcare provider immediately, and we'll toss this into something that's bright red, put it in the center of the page, and then we can adjust the branching logic or the conditional visibility based on this new protocol. and a quick check of our work will let us make sure that we have configured this the way we want. Are you presenting symptoms? Yes, stop, contact a healthcare provider immediately. So using these quick drag and drop tools is how we're going to enable folks to respond to the changing protocol immediately. And with the click of a button, that can be pushed to everyone's phone out in the field. Thank you.